Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro. We are reviewing The Two Popes. This film is from director Fernando Meirelles, who you may remember directed The City of God, and writer Anthony McCartan, who wrote Darkest Hour and Theory of Everything, and Bohemian Rhapsody. Curiously enough, all films that won the Best Actor Oscar. And here we have another biopic that is somewhat appealing to Oscar voters, but it's not really bait. If you heard that he was writing it, you'd think that this was much more of a conventional movie, and it's not. It's actually a refreshing take on a biopic. The movie's about Pope Benedict and Pope Francis and their conversations behind the walls of the Vatican concerning, the position of the Pope, their own personal struggles with faith. It's about their own, internal reckonings. This feels like it comes from someone who's, really serious, about this craft of screenwriting, just because the dialogue is so sharp and witty. Between him and the director, they've created something really original and fresh in a biopic that when I originally heard about it, I was like, okay, I'm not really looking forward to, Anthony Hopkins playing, some pope in a biopic. Is anyone really interested these days in, the Pope and the Vatican? We don't really think it applies to us, whether we recognize it or not. This is a huge part of our society, and, the movie takes a really interesting look at it. You might be thinking, oh, Catholicism, I don't care about that. The film isn't a Catholic movie. This movie clearly doesn't have any stock in Catholicism. I think it's just a film about two popes, and it is respectful and truthful to their reality as God-believing folk. You don't have to believe in a Christian God or any of the sort to enjoy this movie or relate to the characters. Yeah, I thought they were very relatable. Even when they were talking about God shit, I thought it was relatable. To them, it's God. To other people, it might be an inner voice. The movie actually does a really good job being politically relevant. And, some people like to say, oh, I don't want politics in my movies. But, relax, folks. Movies have politics. It's about being a world leader in a time where we hold public figures up to greater scrutiny, and we have public figures who appear to be uncaring about the public. It's about demystifying the position of the leader, and it's about these two popes who recognize the humanity in each other and in themselves and their own fallibilities, which is really fascinating to watch. I think the movie had a lot of great takeaways. For the most part, the movie is just these conversations. It's their disagreements. It's them reckoning with how they fit into this position, whether they're worthy of it. But it's also really funny, and it's a movie that I felt very cozy with. I could have watched these two brilliant actors going through this brilliant script writing for another hour. And so the movie was very enjoyable for me. It was just entertaining and engaging, and I was never checked out through the entire thing. For me, the experience watching this movie was it kind of grew on me as it went along. The structure was very unconventional. I will say I wasn't particularly invested in the first 15 minutes. It's a lot of context around the position of the Pope. Once we really get into the characters meeting, then the movie takes off. It's not a movie that's very obvious where it's gonna go or what it seems like it's trying to say. The characters' motivation and where they're coming from is revealed slowly, and a lot of it's revealed pretty late on into the film. It wasn't really a film that ever enthralls, or a movie where it's oh my god, I love this movie. It's a movie I really appreciated. And a lot of the technical elements were also very unconventional and really well done. The cinematography and the direction, you get a lot of sort of documentary looking handheld shots where the camera's shaking a lot and it's going to bother some people. That documentary sort of feel actually helps kind of humanize these popes, which is one of the movie's main goals. You've seen City of God, kind of what this fast, rapid editing style is with a lot of cuts to detail. It's almost like how, Adam McKay nowadays edits his movies. Really interesting stuff, and I think this could possibly get an editing nomination if people are paying attention. There's archival footage mixed in with recreation footage, mixed in with random shots of paintings. The editing is over the top in this movie. Oh yeah, there's a lot of editing. I wasn't expecting much from the movie about two popes conversing. The scene where the popes are voting in the beginning, there's so much editing there. It's just clicking of the pens and a bunch of close-ups. A lot of stylistic. I would actually really like if this got nominated for editing at the Academy Awards, and I think it could. But again, it's if they're paying attention to it. I feel it might have to get picture to get editing. I don't know. I think it could get editing without picture. But I think the problem is it could annoy a lot of people, and I think the camera work could also annoy a lot of people. There's some parts where the camera feels like someone just left it running while they were like texting with their left hand, and they had their, the camera going on their shoulder and it like kind of pointed down, or like it was just still going on someone's face. I kind of dug it just because I liked that it was breaking convention with how the movie is shot. And I just can't stand movies that are just shot exactly as you would predict. I mean, at the least this movie is unconventional and different. It does give you a different feeling about like who these characters are and how you're getting to know them. I mean, it makes all the difference. Let's get into Hopkins and Pryce. I mean, those are, the two that are... They're both pursuing Oscar nominations. What did we think of them? I mean, they're both equals to us in the film. Some are saying, oh, it's Pryce's show.
Pryce is the lead still.
Yeah, Pryce is the lead. He's still the lead. Sure. Pryce is the lead, but they're both like very important, the way that they build off each other.
They both have equally significant character arcs, which is something I really liked with this movie. Unlike Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, those characters were completely unequal, where one came from here to here and the other one just sat there, didn't do anything. Both of these characters like grow and change, learn, influence each other, move from point A to point B, and it feels real. It just tied the movie together in a way that was like, I understand, what this movie's about, like what these characters went through.
And there's also something to the fact that they're both really old and aged, lots of experience as like popes and archbishops, and yet they're still figuring stuff out. You can just tell that these are just two masters of their craft. And Pryce feels so emotionally invested into his character. He feels so real and vulnerable, but there's nothing showy about the performance. I almost think you could compare it to Antonio Banderas' performance in Pain and Glory. It's very sensitive, but it's not over the top.
Pryce's performance really focused more on like his internal struggle, which is I think what the script called for. It's very internal. And, as is Hopkins' performance, actually. And Hopkins doesn't even seem like he's acting a lot of the time. But then when you see, like, the footage of the actual Pope in the end, you're like, whoa, he got him. Like, he got him physically. The way that his brain was, like, slowly, like, churning. I thought Hopkins actually was more of a scene stealer. He had more, like, funny lines. And every time he gets a joke, he has to be like, oh, that is funny. That is funny. And when you realize like who he is and really what the point of this character is, like personality-wise, you realize like how well his performance is working there. And I would be really dismayed if he didn't get a supporting actor nomination. I think Pryce is equally worthy of a nomination, but it's such a hard category that again I wouldn't stick him in there as a lock.
After seeing the movie, I don't know, and I don't know about Picture because older audiences might really like it.
Yeah, I think older audiences will really like it.
And then there's like a little bit of a political angle, which I think helps with the Oscars. But then at the same time, the movie's not like going for a bang. It's not hitting you over the head with emotions or anything like that. So a lot of people might leave the movie and going like, that was good. I have a hard time seeing people coming out of the movie like super enthusiastic, like this is my movie of the year, I'm gonna vote for this. I think it's on the fringe in a lot of categories.
So I don't think it's impossible. It could be a movie that just pops up out of nowhere like Philomena.
Screenplay is in there. The adapted screenplay nomination for this movie is looking like a lock. The script is great. It's very smart and it leaves you like, you gotta perk up and pay attention.
I hope Hopkins gets a nomination. I hope Pryce gets a nomination. I don't know if they will. We'll have to see. I think it could get editing. I'd be shocked if it didn't get screenplay and if it didn't get any actor nominations. I really liked this movie and I want to watch it again. It didn't hit me like a wave. It's not one of those kind of movies, but it's one that I think I will like reflect very fondly on. It's one that I want to like dive into again. The scene when Pope Francis obviously becomes Pope Francis was emotional to me because I felt like it was just very powerful to see someone who was like so vulnerable like be put in that kind of position, like also understand like the gravity of that position. Very poignant, I think. And this movie could grow a little bit on a second viewing. And it's a definite 9 out of 10 for me. Give it a try. The Popes are good.
I'm in between an 8 and a 9 because the impact of the movie was kind of like slow and I liked that. I don't know how much I'm going to remember it, but then at the same time, if I watched it again, I might think it was a little better. Can I go with a half on this one, buddy? We got permission to do a half. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I thought it was overall like really well done.
Looking forward to what the screenwriter does next.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Who do you think is going to get cast as the third Pope in the sequel?